Let's see. Okay, hey everybody, Elle Ingalls here, and I have a really special guest for this segment of our leadership conference. His name is Joe Van Geison. Joe grew up in Battle Creek, Michigan, where we raised our kids, and we go back a long way, don't we, Joe?
We do. Childhood friends, and hockey and things like that. It's crazy.
It really is, and I really want you. I'm going to give the floor over to you because as we were chatting before we came on here, you just shared some pretty amazing things. But just so that everyone knows here, Joe is one of the first people that I coached the pressure free method to way back in 2010. We're figuring it was
Yeah, yeah,
2010,
yeah.
and yeah. So take it away, Joe. I want you to share like how this has helped you be the leader you are today, some of the things you're doing as a leader, and we'll just kind of freeform it here, okay?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, so what we were chatting about is just I was a sophomore in college, about to be a junior, and I had been back visiting Battle Creek. And it was almost like, if I recall, Al was like, "Hey, I'm doing this thing, and I want to give you. You just seem like you'd be receptive, like a couple free coaching sessions, to help you in college." And what she didn't know at the time was I was really battling some mental health issues. I mean, you're seeing a lot of mental health issues among teens and college students now, but it was still happening, back in 2010. And I was an emerging leader at the time. I had taken on some responsibility. I was in a fraternity. I was playing college hockey. And I think on the outside, I was doing very well. But on the inside, I was really hiding and battling a lot of personal demons. And I took her up on it. I was like, I kind of felt weird. I'd never experienced one-on-one coaching. And, we met over the summer, and just instantly helped me shift my mindset. And we were joking around because I found the documents that she had gave me at the time, and I've referred to them in the past like 10 years, and they have copyright pending. So I mean, I'm like a original member here, but I just immediately what I think I took from it was this inner journey or inner introspection. I had never really done the work internally, and in my role now, so I'm 30 years old, or 31 now, 31 now, but I've worked in higher education my whole professional career. When I graduated from Adrian in 2012, I started working at admissions, and now I'm currently the assistant vice president of enrollment at Adrian College. So relatively young for my position, and I was director of admissions when I was 25. And I don't say that to be like impress people or whatever. It's just I genuinely feel that I was prepared for some of the leadership opportunities because of the lifestyle that I had been living, based on some of the things that I had definitely picked up, from Elle at a very young age. And that is one thing. I know this is a mixed group, but that I would encourage not only for you, whatever age you're at, but if you do have kids, if you do have younger people in your life that are, whether they're emerging leaders or just, young people in general, um, getting taught just very simple, basic understandings of how to live stress free and how to manage your body. I think that is like so impactful, because you don't learn it. Like, it's insane to me how you can get a college degree, you can get a high school degree, and you can still not be able to change your tire. You can still not be able to write a check because no one teaches that, and you still don't know how to manage your own body, and what your mind body connection is doing. So I'm very fortunate that I was in the low that I was in at the time to be receptive enough. Like, I was like looking for an answer.
And I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, that's what's crazy. And I think like we started to like build that relationship of like, hey, I'm kind
Yeah.
of letting you in. But I mean, one of the funny, this is like, I mean, we'll get into the leadership portion, but one of the things that I started doing this, like the day we started working together,
Uh-huh.
and I still do this and I get made fun of for it, is it's all just all about posture and, how you're sitting. And one of the things that you had talked about was, how do you sit in a car? Like when you're driving, you should have your seat like upright. And I'm tall guy, so I like am like right on the steering wheel, and my friends all like, Joe, ease up, man. But I just always want to be upright and have good posture. So posture and those types of things were early on, just really, I would, now looking back, I would say they're like really early wins, in the sense of, okay, I'm not feeling it, I'm just going to correct my posture and take a breath. Like, it's not, it's so simple, but it's hard, it's
Right.
difficult, like catch
Because we have
yourself.
habits and we have people who make fun of us.
Exactly, 100%. And
Yeah.
like, luckily, another part of stress free is people, as you get into it, is, you learn to live not apologetically. That was something that I definitely took as well. And I do still struggle with that and work through that.
Sure.
I think that is one thing, maybe beyond the drive into work, that has helped is, as a young leader, I was managing, so I was like, when I was 25, I was in charge of a $25 million budget, and like 8 professional staff. And there were days where I was like, am I doing the right thing with
Oh,
this?
yes.
And those moments of stress that are natural to come, I was able to deal with those better, and and get through it myself, right?
Mhm.
So when I would go into a staff meeting, I would say with confidence, hey, this is how we're going to allocate this, or this is what we're going to do. um, because early on I was really managing my peers, so I had been promoted, and I'm like the same age as everybody else. So there was a lot of self-doubt. And I think, one of the things that Elle talked about, before we hopped on the call, was it's so cool to see people like create their own use of the toolkit or the tools that, she provides. And I've definitely complemented those things with other books that I've read, and material. So one of the things that I read a book, probably 4 or 5 years ago. It's called Leave No Doubt, and it's by Mike Babcock, who's a hockey coach.
Oh, yes.
And yeah, so he coached for the Red Wings and stuff like that. And his whole life philosophy is leaving no doubt. Like, what can you do that, every day that you go to bed and you've done everything, to the best of your ability. And I really, I think, have somewhat married the two in my leadership philosophy, as, how can you be okay with your decisions and live stress free. And part of that is having a confidence that, like, well, there's nothing to stress about because I have done everything I can do today. Kind of left it all out there. So
100%. Yeah.
so
Hmm.
I've definitely taught that to my staff, and led them through, those types of behavioral, shifts. Like, we we joke early on, like, there's no crime. So I oversee the admissions staff. So there is a lot of pressure. I mean, these people are
Oh,
recruiting $5 million coming in, and parents are sometimes difficult to talk about. You're talking about a lot of financial aid. Some of these kids, will be paying $25,000 a year. So it can get stressful to be talking about those amounts of money. And just trying to disassociate yourself from the outcome.
oh,
That
yeah.
is a big thing for me. Is I was very result oriented, uh, prior to pressure free. Like I would say I'm worth something because I have this result, and that would lead to, really a misunderstanding of my own worth. Whereas, now it's that I'm very process oriented. What did I give to the process? Am I proud of that product? And then the outcome is what it is. right? And I
Oh
think,
gosh, that
yeah,
is
so the outcome,
really that's incredibly profound. Um, because we can get into that trap as high achievers and as leaders. People rest on their laurels sometimes, and it is a big block for some people. So when you're attached to outcomes, um, it's an easy thing to do to be attached to the outcome. So that's phenomenal that all these years you've been working on that. It's beautiful.
yeah, yeah, oh yeah, yeah, for sure. And then, something kind of interesting that happened in my career is, so, I had goals. I mean, goal setting is obviously, it's a part of pressure free, but it's also just a part of, natural
Right.
progress, right?
Right.
So in life coaching or personal development, you're going to see, your goals matter. So I did have goals, and one of my goals was, uh, when I was younger, was to be the director of admissions at Adrian, and I was hoping to achieve that by 30, the age of 30. Um, that's pretty much an industry standard. I mean, you don't see a ton of 20 somethings as a director of admissions. And I, my boss at the time left for another job, so I was kind of in the right place at the right time to be promoted into that position. And there was just such a high, like such an emotional high of like I did it, but it was followed by probably the second biggest dip of my life, right? So I think like college, like high school, college was that dip, and I kind of got myself out of it through the toolkit, and then man, was I just like really depressed. I think when you put yourself in, like, if I get there, I'm worth something. And then that result came, and it just wasn't, it was more work and harder stuff,
Right.
bigger decisions. And so it really, I think I was kind of challenged to go back to like go back to the basics, so to
Right.
speak. Um, and I started getting into yoga. I started getting into and really reconnecting with, like, just, mind body connection. I think that's
Yes.
super super important, and it's so easy to forget. Like, I remember we were in, because again, this is like so early on. I remember just being we were in like side room. There was like a piano. And you were showing me just how energy worked, right? Like imagining a field of
Yeah.
energy, and just, I'd never, you don't see it. You don't
I
see
see
it.
it.
So you can intuitively feel it, but it gets forgotten about a lot. So that was, I think, a really big part of fighting and building that resiliency. That's what I kind of refer to it as. Is so I mentor students, and I also have my own, coaching business now. And that's what I kind of refer to as like building your resilience towards negativity or depression or things like that. Because I don't necessarily coach people who are depressed on purpose, but I encounter it way more than I would think.
Oh yeah.
Um, and just kind of, how do we build resilience through, self-awareness and those types of things. A lot of that came from, the evaluation that you taught me, and pressure free taught me, for sure.
Wow. I'm thinking back to when, I reached out to you and said, hey, I've got this really cool thing I want to share with you. Um, a friend of mine who's a professional musician as well as I am, said to me once that he has a suspicion in knowing me that I hear people as much as I see them. I'm tuned into them
Yeah,
energetically, like even
yeah,
through, and that probably something about you was cluing me into what was going on your insides.
100%. Like that
So,
receptiveness, and I look back at that now. I always joke that I might be an old soul or something to that effect, but I don't see a ton of kids that age really understanding or being open to it,
yeah,
like, you know, and I did have, you know, because I was unfamiliar with coaching at the time, like, you know, and that's why I can't encourage it more, you know, to have anyone of any age look into it, because um, it, it sounds literally almost too simple,
Right.
like
Right.
it's like, well, what am I really going to take from this? But the direct application, has literally been life changing, and now that we're talking, some more stuff's coming up that I think is worth sharing. I remember vividly you telling me, like, people are gonna start to not get you all the time. Like the people around you that are close friends of yours or family members are gonna be like confused by how you're acting, because something's gonna happen at home and everyone's gonna be stressed out and you're not. And that like started happening like immediately, like, like, oh my gosh, like my brother lost his keys and we're gonna be late and everyone's pissed, and I'm like, who cares, we're gonna be late, like it can't start till we get there, like we'll be okay.
Right.
So
Oh,
just seeing that shift, and then taking that into business or taking that into leadership. There's, I guess a stance on leadership. I think good leaders are even keel. Like, I think they're energetic, they're in it, but when something bad happens, there's just a very, they're gonna feel that, they're gonna show that, but that even keel is, I think, really important, really valuable, when people are looking up to you or looking for you to direct them. Your
yes.
immediate vibe is going to kind of have an impact. So
Yes.
I think, as stressors would come to me and right in front of people, I would have to mitigate that stress, using, okay, one deep breath, good posture, assess the situation. That over 8 years has become just like a kind of a subconscious thing. So I do, I mean, people have mentioned, you know, well, you're just really calm, or you're like, a lot of people think I'm just like, I don't care. Like, oh, you're so carefree. And I'm not carefree.
No.
And this should be like a tagline. I'm not carefree. I'm stress free. And that's like, I mean,
Right.
I think that's really,
Oh my gosh. Can I use
you know what I'm
it? That's
saying?
just
Like,
like
it's kind of funny.
fantastic.
Yeah, but it really is, like, I do care. I
Yes.
care probably more than everyone else.
Yes.
But it's how can I evaluate, and then evaluate my body mind connection, and then come up with a plan. Um, so yeah,
So
it is.
one of this is really great. I want to bring this forward because one of the reasons why people will think that you don't care or that you're super carefree, is because most of our society, is in victimhood, and they want you to go down into the muck with them. And when you refuse to do that, they don't get that. They don't understand that. But honestly, if you show empathy and sympathy towards someone who's in that state, if you go with them that way, look at my face. Oh, Joe, I'm so sorry. I'm really sorry this is happening to you. Did you get a second MRI? No. Like, look at my face. Do you think that's at all healing? Is that at all
Stressful.
helpful? It's completely stressful. And I really take a strong stand that in order to really heal and be helpful to people, it, it's being pressure free and remaining pressure free to sincerely help them. But most people are also not going to want the help because they love misery. Misery demands company, is one of my
Yeah,
phrases.
yeah, it does, yeah. And it's interesting that you mentioned healing in this, because that is another thing, just physically, that I've noticed. I mean, so, and again, this goes way back to my high school days and things like that, but a very high anxiety. I had ulcers. Like, I
Oh,
literally gave myself ulcers worrying, in high school.
wow.
So, I mean, yeah, so like, very, very, I was, introverted, didn't go out, um, didn't really feel comfortable. and just worrying about things that were never going to happen, really. So getting to college, I kind of expanded it. I kind of went through this phase of like, I'm going to try some new things. And I think that's where you came in, was you almost caught me in this time where I was getting out of my comfort zone, which is good, but I was also like not ready for it. So I was like double
Oh,
stressed.
yeah,
So
yeah. That's a
so
really good point.
it
Yeah.
was interesting because it was like I wanted to change. That was one of my things when I went to college. I was like, I'm gonna try to do things. I'm gonna get involved. So like Greek life and continuing hockey, were those things. I did student government.
I
And
remember that. Yeah.
yeah, so it was like, so I was putting myself in position to be uncomfortable, but I needed those tools to adapt. But my health, like, I mean, and again, I'm very fortunate, but I do attribute a lot of my physical well-being to my mental approach and how those things happen. So I mean, I couldn't tell you the last time I'm like literally missed a day of work for being ill. I did. I mean, so my wife and I both we got COVID, I guess, and I had like the most mild symptoms. I was super fortunate. But a lot of people, I think, when they, got it, the mental state was, it's so bad that it has to be terrible for me. Like,
Right. Right.
and I don't know. I mean, and I know that, COVID's done terrible things, and I'm not
Yes.
saying, whatever, but it's like, it's just, I look at people and I look at their habits and I look at how they handle things. And then I also see that correlation of they're sick like once a month. I mean, their
Right.
body is constantly tearing itself down
Right.
and not able to fight,
Yeah.
essentially. So, I,
My heart
I
is just soaring hearing this. Like,
yeah,
this
no,
is,
it's serious. And I think the other thing too is like consistency, tying us back into leadership.
yes.
Like you can't be out if you're a leader. Like you
Right.
can't have days off.
You can't.
So if you're doing extraordinary things, you have to be extraordinary, right? So you cannot just be like, well, Joe's out again today. So that has just been a part of the last so many years of my life that I kind of forget the
God.
healing aspect,
Yes.
but I had pretty bad acne and things like that. I, pretty clear fate. Like, I just
You
think
look amazing.
that, yeah, I mean,
I had
so I
it
don't
too,
know.
by the way. Terrible stress acne, eczema all over my hands. I have
Yeah.
no, I
Yeah.
have no makeup on right now. I just told Joe when I came on, you don't mind that I don't
Yeah.
have any makeup on.
Yeah. I don't either. I told her, I said, I don't either. Okay. But yeah, I do. I do. There's a lot of things that I kind of forget about, or I had forgotten the impact that it's having,
Wow.
because it's become, just a secondary nature, for sure. But
That's really beautiful. Yeah, I'm not going to wood, but I have rarely been ill these 11 years either. And actually the times were like in the first 2 years. And after that, it was just once, in like 8 years time, just once. So it's crazy.
yeah, yeah, I'm trying to think, my, the, so the last 10 years I've been in higher ed, leading, mission staff, things like that. And then last year I did start my own side business of like one-on-one coaching. And I've taken that, and I actually, this is I have 2 weeks left. I'm leaving Adrian College in my position on August 1st. And I'll be doing my business full time, and I'm shifting my business to be, so I'm going to be a college success coach and just work with college students and do some motivational speaking and things like that. And, it's a space that I would have never had the confidence in myself. I mean, even as I got into the space, I had those things like, who am I to be doing this? Like, who would listen to me? And again, I have a habit now. It's habitual to the point where when I hear that negative talk, it happens. Like, it happens to everybody. It's
Sure.
not that, like, pressure free and other things don't keep you, like, they don't give you immunity
No,
from these feelings, right?
right.
They give you the ability to be resilient towards them.
Oops, we lost your sound a little bit.
Yeah, sorry. So like when they don't necessarily, like, doesn't mean you never get scared or, stressed out. It just means that you have, a go-to, routine.
Right.
And I think, and I do think we had a couple, because we talked about at the time you were like a sport, like you were trying to help athletes. That was one of the, like you're an
Mhm.
athlete, and, we had kind of the, when stressors happen to you on the ice or in the game, what routine do you go to? So like sit up on the bench, take a deep breath, look for something that's consistent in the rink, or like, I mean, that's what I remember. And, I definitely have built that out in my, like, I did this today. I have a go-to, like sometimes, like, you just get kind of busy, you're doing stuff and you're like, okay, what am I doing? And I get overwhelmed. Like, my job is I love it, but it's complex. There's just a lot of moving parts and nuances. So I frequently do this, but I did it today, and I was just like, take a breath, and then I breathe deep. And like if someone were to walk in, they would hear me like out loud say, take a breath, and then I just take a deep breath. And I probably don't do it long enough.
We've
When
talked
we
about that,
talked
yeah.
about, yeah, but just one at least resets me, puts me back in control before all those things happen. Before my brain starts doing negative things to my body, or vice versa. My body starts, kind of going into that flight or fight mode.
Mhm.
So I'll feel it come on, and I think that awareness
Yeah.
is big.
It is big. And that I love how in the beginning of your sharing here, you said, people might think it's really simple. I purposefully built it simply, distilling literally hundreds of ideas from hundreds of books so that it was easy enough that a 10-year-old can do it. Easy enough that you can do it when you're in the heat of the moment, because if it's too complex, we cannot do it. We can't think that way. And then I remember too that it's so impactful that I built it simply because you're complex. You have so many things coming at you all the time and so many habits of reaction that are generations old.
Mhm.
And so the simplicity of pressure free is very purposeful. It's
Yeah.
very purposeful. And look at 10 years later,
I
11 years
know.
later,
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy
it's
for
amazing.
sure.
So in your leadership role, I wonder if you could share a couple of things that you see that could be helpful to not just a young person coming into leadership, but really anyone of any age. We lead our families, we lead our own lives. We even use that expression, I'm leading my life, right? And so do you have a couple of thoughts there about just leadership in general?
Yeah. I'm a big fan of chunking it down. Whatever it is. I think as you go into leadership, when you get the promotion or you get the opportunity, you want to do such a big thing, and that leads to overwhelm. It leads to, if you're doing too many things, you're doing a lot of things poorly usually. So chunking down that bigger thing and trying to just get it into a manageable amount every day. So I'm a very firm believer. I try to do 3 things every day. My list of things to do is always more than I can handle. Like, I will never be able to do all the check boxes that I want to do, but can I do 3 things well? And so I have like little cards that I fill out as just like 3 check boxes pretty much. But what am I trying to get done today as a leader? And those things can be task related, or they can be people related, relationship related. But that would be one thing for leaders is it's been so surprising to me in my career that small impacts over every day really, really build a trust between you and your people. Like they know, like Joe's gonna show up and we're gonna move the ball forward, you know. And I think that that's important, that consistency piece. So if you can do chunk it down to 3 things a day, then that's gonna help you be successful in leadership. Um, and then, you know, man, I would just make sure what you're doing you love, like you're in it, because if you're leading something that you're not passionate about, then it'll show and people will feel that. I mean, there's been moments in staff meetings where I'm like, I mean, Jim Valvano, he's a basketball coach. He passed away from cancer years ago, but you know, he had 3 tips to life. You know, that you should laugh, you should think, you should have your emotions bring you to tears every day. Like that's a fulfilling day. And I definitely take that into my leadership in the sense that like I will literally be talking to our staff about an event we're having, about how this orientation can help mentor kids and lead them to their, you know, a good start at college. And I'll start to get emotional because like
Right.
those college years for me, and you were a huge part of that, but the college years for me were so impactful.
Yes.
So if you find yourself as an emerging leader, you know, and obviously if it's family, there's like an automatic passion there, but you know, make sure you're doing something that you love, because so many people do things that they don't love, and
Oh,
it
a lot of people lose the passion
baffles
for
me.
their family, actually. They lose
Yeah,
the
yeah,
leadership for their
yeah,
family, you
yeah,
know? So I love that consistency and chunking. Thank you for those 2 tips.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Well, we're going to close out. This has
Yeah,
been amazing.
yeah. Awesome. It was so fun for
Just
sure.
amazing. And we're going to go to our next speaker. And this may be a standalone because Joe is going to be at a bachelor party when we're holding this live.
No,
So,
yes.
so we'll see how this all works. But thank you so much for being here. And I just really appreciate it, Joe. So thank you.
Yes, yes, thank you. Oh my gosh, I wouldn't be here today without you. That's a
Amazing.
very true fact. So thanks for the opportunity to share, and yeah, look forward to continuing this friendship as always.
Love it.
All right.